I love talking about films and my work. So this is such an exciting time being in Cannes with it. But yes, I'm then quite shy.
Yeah, I suppose that's what we share.
Yeah, exactly.
Welcome. Thank you so much for being here. So, Olivier, 26 years ago, this film was at Cannes. How does it feel to be back here?
26 years ago, this movie was in Cannes at a midnight screening. We had shot it in 4 weeks for basically no budget. And there was nothing like the kind of photo call we just did. You know, it was a minor event in a sidebar, and we had lots of fun. It was just, you know, we showed the film. It was a midnight show. We showed it at midnight. We went to the pizzeria on the harbor, and that was it. And it was just happiness. Now it's really great because I've had a chance to expand it and completely reinvent it and go into completely new direction. So it's really exciting because HBO gave us the possibility to try really ambitious things and complex things. It's a completely different animal, and I come here with the pressure, also with the pressure of also that freedom and the weight of the ambition of the project.
Why did you want to revisit the project now in 2022?
Well, because the series format became popular, so all of a sudden you can have personal projects, try new things in an expanded time. I mean, when you're making a movie, you're always struggling with your producer, your distributor about the length. I mean, should it be 100 minutes, 110 minutes, 120 minutes, and they always want you to cut stuff. Here in a series, you want to do another episode, please go ahead, do another episode. So all of a sudden I realized that in the original Irma Web, I just some issues I kind of just toyed with them, did not go all the way. Here I can just expand the film into its full potential and turn it into again something else, but something that is given to me by the time I have. I would not have done a quote unquote remake or reboot or whatever of Irma Web for the cinema. It's worth trying something on a 8-hour format.
Alicia, for you, this is a return to the series format, which since you've really blown up internationally and in America, you've been largely in film. So how did that feel for you to return to this format?
I think I've been excited for quite a long time to step into the series format, because I think over the years, just what Olivier talked about, it's really proven that you can, if you have 5, 6, 7, 8 episodes, you get the chance to actually be with your characters and kind of see different sides to them and experience more. So when Olivier mentioned this idea that he had, I mean, above anything, I didn't think so much about what format it was. I was just, Olivier, want to work? And I just said, yes. I want to come and join whatever adventure you have, in your thoughts. I love the original film, and it was so interesting to hear that he felt like, you mentioned something about that you hadn't really in your head maybe finished it, or you hadn't.
Totally.
It was kind of made, in the moment all those years ago, and then of course, the world loved it and it became this big thing. But to hear that he wanted, to revisit it, and that he felt that he had so much more to add to this universe, made it really, really exciting.
The world has obviously changed so much since 1996, and the world of cinema has changed so much. So what will be similar to the original, and what did you change?
Should I start? Yeah, of course. Well, I find it interesting that, there was so many times throughout the shoot that I don't know how, like the kind of levels of things. And then, of course, in our series, there's a reference to our director in our version, which is another actor, obviously playing the director in our version, who's already done a previous version of this series. And that was kind of a quite modernist thought to it, which your film also had, and now it's almost like he goes back to his original or the original 1914 series about the vampires that we talk about a lot in the series. What's different? And yeah, I play obviously not myself in the same way that Maggie did all those years ago. But then, of course, I think all of us in this series, because it is about filmmaking and the love of storytelling in cinema, there were so many times when it was not only my own character, where I sometimes feel like I had, things that I could relate to, especially like the relationship she has quite immediately with the director. I think they have kind of this very first and quite clear understanding about, that they share this passion for cinema. And I think that's the same when we met the first time quite a few years ago. But then there's so many kind of characters. Of course, they're kind of drawn to the extremes, which makes it quite funny, or very funny, I find. But there's like situations from film sets and behind the scenes and characters, and I feel like a lot of them I was like, I have a bit of that or a bit of that, and the things people I've met throughout the years. So yeah,
I think it also has to do with the situation of chaos that film cinema is in right now. I think it was really interesting to make some sort of Polaroid of what's going on right now, where people don't know if you're shooting a series, a film, where it will be shown, where does the financing come from, how it should be called, should it be shown in film festival, should it not be shown in film festival? Everything in the past of cinema, in the history of cinema, seemed to have just exploded, and you're trying to understand where the new picture is, what the new picture is, and I think it's an exciting moment to make a movie about cinema, and especially about going back to the basics, back to the first time people had to could make narrative films, but start making. So that's why we've been using a lot of silent film by Louis Feuillade. But it's also a way of trying to go back to where it all started, and try to see how much it has changed, and how much it's looking for itself right now. So I always say that movies are not about answers; they're about questions, and I think here it's about questioning the present state of cinema, also in a certain way. Plus, obviously, the many changes, differences, but that they all echo this initial notion of trying to understand where our art is going.
What do you both think about the current state of cinema? Do you prefer to be in a theater, or do you like to watch from home?
Yeah, I think evolution just happens. I think it's like there's no way of, and I think in one way, what you're talking about is being able to look back and remember and honor things that you love and cherish, and that you want to make sure does not go away. But then the world is changing. And I am a person who watch a lot of films now at home because they're available. But it also doesn't take away that I still absolutely love going to the cinema. So I think don't be afraid of kind of speaking up and talking about the things that you do admire, and make sure that those still get to flourish and stay with us.
What went into the decision to not play yourself and not have your character be your own name?
When I got the first idea, that was naturally what came to Olivier. Yeah. And I think it just brings another fun layer to it, because I think I've always been the foreign actress in America, if anything, and now I get to be a bit lost in like French European cinema, which is, is a lot of fun for me to do.
Yeah. No, and also I think one of the differences is that the original Irma Vep uses Maggie as herself. I mean, but also no one had seen her films at that point. She was totally not on the map of international filmmaking. She was a huge star in Hong Kong and in the Chinese world, but in the West, I mean, she really became big through Irma Vep, In the Mood for Love, Clean, whatever. What was interesting for me was to use a real life actress and use in my narrative her past, her history, her and it was so much about East meets West. And here in this case, I don't think that using the filmography, the personal history of Alicia would have made as much sense than reinvent the character of Irma Webb from the inside, and and figure out something that we share, Alicia and myself, and develop a new character. It was much more exciting, much more meaningful, and also there's something I really remember that Maggie told me once, like months after we had made Irma Webb, and she told me, everybody's raving about what I'm doing in the film and so on, but the reality is that the good part was the costume designer, and I had basically nothing to do, or very little to do. So I said, okay, so maybe I should do a version where the central character has more to do than just being a witness to the craziness going on around her.
Alicia, you said that, you can relate to a lot of this because it's the world in which you work, but I would imagine that you are quite different from this character because in real life...
Yes, I am. And I think that was, again, part of the beauty of like having essence and little, things that I'm like, I know you picked this up, or this is a reference that it could be me. But then Mira is living a very different life from what I do.
Yeah. But you both believe in ghosts.
Yes, we do. And it is a ghost story, first of all, this series. But I also very often admire her. She also does. I myself, since I started, was kind of afraid of that thing of, because the reality is you're always like jumping, to a new film set, you're on a new place in the world, and it can be very lonely. And that is something that I think, she's tackling a lot in this series. And then it was interesting it's Devon down here plays my assistant, and it's a quite interesting relationship between them. I myself have never had an assistant who kind of live with me, with me 24/7 or cook coffee for me. But I've always kind of been quite intrigued by what that is, because I've seen some people in my industry or colleagues who have that, and it's just wouldn't work for me personally. So that was kind of interesting to kind of tap into that and see what that dependent relationship looks like.